Hey, this is Rick Casalge from exercisesforinjuries.com. Today I got another interview for you, and it's with the one and only Martin Rooney. Now, if you don't know who Martin Rooney is, I know after this interview you will know Martin Rooney, and he will have burned a small spot in your mind after this interview. So Martin, for those people that don't know who you are, if you can do a brief introduction on who you are.
Hey, Rick. Well, hey, thanks for having me on. And it is my pleasure to be here to share with everybody. And hey, for everybody that's not familiar with me, hey, I'm Martin Rooney. And for the last 20 years, I've been involved with fitness. And before that, I was actually an orthopedic physical therapist. And I was really looking for something to do with my life. It wasn't my passion. It wasn't the thing that I knew I wanted to be the best in the world in. And sports had always been a big thing for me. I was a track and field athlete in college. I was on the U.S. bobsled team for a number of years. And I wanted to get back into fitness to make an impact, but really help more people. And so Bill Parisi and I, we started the Parisi Speed School, and now our programming is across the United States. Over 1 million kids have used the programming that I created. And during that span, I was also working with high-level fighters and a number of professional athletes in different sports. And I started to create another program called Training for Warriors, which, although it was born from the martial arts, now I have got over 80 facilities around the world, hundreds of thousands of books sold, and it's become this thing of huge demand that now I am excited about, because every weekend I'm traveling somewhere to share it with others.
So probably the first question people will be asking is, have you always had this much energy and enthusiasm? Or was there an accident or an incident that has kind of flipped the switch?
There is no accident. I would say that, hey, here would be my simple explanation for that, Rick, is when you do what you love and what you're supposed to be doing, you're going to have super high energy. So what I always say is, hey, if you want to see me with low energy, take me to IKEA. Take me to like an auto body shop, or talk to me about window treatments. And you know what? You're going to see a really low energy me. But what it is when people really find that connection between their passion and their purpose, that's when the boundless energy is going to be there. And it's kind of funny, because I get that question a lot now, and I had to really think about it for a while, and that's the answer. It's like, I love what I'm doing. So, man, I talked to you about this. Man, I raced home from training classes to get to this interview so we could do it, because I know more people are going to benefit from the energy, and it excites me to do that. But yeah, there have been no accidents. It's all been by design. And but man, I will say this though: the lesson for everybody listening: hey, high energy will never fail you.
Yeah.
You can't be a 10, or you can't want to make somebody a 10 and you're a 2.
Uh-huh.
And man, if you're going to be a 10, you got at least a chance of bringing somebody to a 5 or 6. So I will always err towards higher energy and being on fire. Without a doubt.
Awesome. So, I mean, we kind of got on this interview because you really want to, get the message out on, really improving trainers out there. And maybe we'll kind of start off with, looking at the industry. And like you said, you teach every weekend your courses, and then I know you're at conferences. Maybe what's kind of a mistake that you see the industry make when it comes to training and trainers?
Well, that's another great question. And right now, what I've been preaching a lot about, I guess, one of the hot topics right now in just the industry is metabolic training. And right now, whether we want to call it boot camps, or, hey, we want to talk about the explosion of CrossFit or P90X or any of these systems, and people could even say mine, Training for Warriors, there's a metabolic training component that many people, although now we're starting to become familiar with the hard work behind it, I say that it's really like the Wild West. Right now, the only way that many of these sessions are measured is by the amount of fatigue it produces, by the amount of soreness it produces, or if it's just new and cool stuff that people haven't seen before. And what I want to remind everybody, I think one of the biggest, actually, if we were going to really get to the crux and say, what is the biggest mistake? It's that people forgot that people are there to get results. And, we've got to make sure that no matter what we're doing, we're using the most effective and safe methods to produce those results, which, when I challenge a lot of people, I'll say, hey, what's your job description? And people will say, oh, my job is to change lives. My job is to motivate. My job is to get people on fire. And I say, well, no. See, your job is to help people lose weight, build muscle, and feel good. Like, that's your job. And so many people don't understand the job description, so they miss what they're trying to really achieve. So I'm not saying people can't get sore or tired in your program, but that can't be the only thing that we see as value. And right now, I might say that that's the biggest mistake, and not only because it hurts with results, but a big breakthrough that I had just in the last couple of weeks is, you know what? I'm doing charity events every weekend. And wherever I go, I'm doing a charity event, or when I'm here still in town, I'm doing charity events. And you know what happens? There'll be all these people that come that are new to exercise. And I started to see such apprehension from these people that I started to ask a question before we would begin. And I would say, is anybody here nervous or scared to exercise? And every hand would go up. Everybody's scared. They're terrified. They say, yeah, I see what's happening in exercise now. Are you going to kill us? What are you going to do to us? And what I want to do is make a big shift in people's minds that, you know what? Those people should be afraid of what fast food and sedentary lifestyles is doing to them. See, that kills people. Exercise doesn't kill people. Exercise buys you time. It buys you life. And unfortunately, I think even within exercise, we're creating this environment now that's scaring people away that we need to save. So in the short answer, it's that, hey, we're using these exercises just to really beat people up and create more of a beatdown instead of really measuring things. And maybe we're helping some people, these ex-athletes or people that are really competitive, and that's really fun. But man, there's hundreds of millions of people around the world right now that need our help. And if we're scaring them away with exercise because it's too tough, because we forgot what we were trying to do, it's not the best way to do it.
That's a really good point, because you look, I mean, CrossFit's almost kind of unleashed that old athlete in individuals. But you look at, we can look at like Richard Simmons, who really tries to engage and get people moving. You can have whatever perception you want of him and his techniques, or like Curves, but both of them try to get those sedentary people moving. And that's an excellent point, that we got to, rekindle that athlete within us, but then also get those people going and moving.
Absolutely. And what you just described, hey, I talk about Richard Simmons all the time. Hey, for everybody listening, he used to tour 250 days a year on tour. He's estimated to help people lose 10 million pounds. And like you just said, just like CrossFit, hey, we can try to say bad things about them, but look, they identified a market, they got people interested in exercise, and they've created a community. So we have to laud them for that. But there are many ways to do that besides just burying people with really, really hard workouts. And that's one thing that I'm trying to pioneer today.
Okay. And that kind of leads us into, so the thing that you're known for, well, other than your high energy, is the training for warrior thing. So maybe you can kind of give us, like, where did this start, what it is, and really, why is it a benefit to trainers?
Well, it's pretty neat. A lot of people, these are all questions that I get all the time. And hey, Training for Warriors, what I like to talk about the most of late is that Training for Warriors grew organically. And what I mean is, I was training world-class athletes, and my job was to make them world champions. And that's what I was hell-bent on. I never sought for what Training for Warriors is today, for that was what it was going to become. And I think that the purity of that message is what gives it its strength, where I was never sitting around with a marketing team or investment dollars and saying, hey, we'll create this thing, and it'll be really cool, and we'll trick people into exercise. What it was is I created results that actually I eventually realized anybody could have. It was not reserved for the world-class athlete. But what I realized people were missing was the philosophical component and the personal development component that can also come along with fitness. Now, my background is also in the martial arts. I'm a black belt in judo, a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, and I've trained alongside some of the best martial artists in the world. And what I realized was I wasn't doing martial arts to beat someone else up. I was doing martial arts to defeat myself, to conquer my own fears, to see how disciplined I could become in the face of duress. And I started to say, well, can't fitness do that? I mean, so what Training for Warriors essentially did is I removed the punches and kicks, and I put in exercises, and I'm trying to make it into an art. And an art that not only changes people for the 2 or 3 hours that they're with you a week, but it changes you for the 165 hours that they're not with you, because that's where the real results are going to happen. And, what started off as just seminars turned into certifications, and certifications turned into people wanted to run the programming. And now, like I said, in a short period of time, we've got over 80 facilities in a dozen countries around the world running this system and helping people every day. And that's what I'm super excited about, is that now what I created 15 years ago is impacting people I would have never met. And where I used to get that rush from being in the ring with a UFC fighter and watching my guys win, now I get that same rush when somebody writes me and says, hey, Martin, I lost 60 pounds. I'm off medication, and I want to tell you that your program, it's not what it did for me on the outside, it's what it did for me on the inside, and I just want to thank you for that. And the more that those are coming in, it's feeding this machine of energy even more, where I want to go out and make that happen even more, and really leave a legacy behind for people after I'm gone, and that's what and so that's kind of the take on Training for Warriors.
Okay. Okay, I like it. So it's like the physical component, but then also the emotional, mental, and you probably spend more time in that emotional, mental than most people do, and realize that that's kind of the hidden power that bringing out of people.
Absolutely. Our tagline, what you just said, it's funny how you said bring it out. The tagline for Training for Warriors is bring out the warrior within. And what I believe is, hey, you don't got to be a fighter to be a warrior, and you don't have to get punched in the face to be tough. Everybody's got a warrior inside them. There's weekend warriors that are going and playing their sports. There's the housewife that she's got to bang the alarm clock and take care of her kids and still get that workout in. Everybody's got these incredible challenges, but where is that place that people can become stronger? Where is that place that like they go and somebody tells them something good about themselves, that there's a message that they can really grow from? And today it's not at people's work, and a lot of times it's not in their home. And what I have always given the message for all the people that are working within my company is that we're going to be that place for people and help them to bring out that warrior within.
Okay, and then, how is Training for Warriors, different from, all the certifications out there? I know sometimes what happens with me is I hear another certification is out and I kind of roll my eyes. And then how is yours different? What makes it so special?
Well, what I would say, and I'll answer that in a couple of things, because I agree with you, Rick. Hey, my background, so everybody knows, I've got 3 degrees. I've got 50 certifications in just different events and courses that I've gone to. And so maybe to cover it too is, I think the term certification in some ways has morphed from what started as a clinic that then went to a workshop that then became a seminar. Now things are called certification. So I don't have any problem with the syntax behind that, as long as people want to continue to learn and what they want to call it. Where, for instance, hey, you and I are both physical therapists, and when I got my physical therapy degree, the only degrees they offered 20 years ago were bachelor degrees. Then they started making the same coursework master's degrees, and now it's the same coursework, but now you're called a doctor. And I'm not called a doctor, but somebody else is called a doctor because they've changed the syntax of the coursework. So when we say certification, here's what I look at it. Every certification, if you go and you've really gotten something special from it, and you've gotten a sense of accomplishment, you studied, you did your work, you passed the exams, and you accomplished that, hey, you deserve it. And I don't think anybody should have a problem with what's happening, or that it shouldn't have any merit. But what I would say, what separates mine from others, and hey, I've completed over 50 of these in the last 2 years around the world, is that people say 2 things. They say, number one, it's an experience. See, you've seen me present, and you've had a little taste of that experience that we had at Craig's event, the TT Summit. And you know what? I received so many emails from that because people had an experience. See, it wasn't just about technical training. It wasn't just about a system. My training and my certification, you're going to learn something about yourself. Everybody, it's going to be different. But when we did the first version of the online course, more people wrote me, and it wasn't about the exercises. It was about, Martin, you reinvigorated me. Martin, you reminded me why I'm in fitness again and what I need to do, and got me back on the path. So one, I would say it's an experience. And number 2, the word that I keep hearing over and over and over from people when they talk to me is they say it's authentic. Awesome. They say it's the truth. Like what you're preaching about there, it's real. It's not, there are no tricks. There are no ways or upsells or anything else. It's this authentic information that came from a pure source that, man, if people utilize it, they're going to, and that would be the only way that I would want it described, and the way that I would want to come across. But what I would say is, hey, if people spend 15 straight hours with me over 2 days, they're going to be different people when they end that course. And hey, I've been to a lot of courses where that doesn't happen. And so I know how to give a bad course, and I know how to give a good course or certification, whichever way you want to call it. And no one yet in the thousands, we've had 1,200 people go through the course. I haven't had one person yet say they didn't get something great from it.
Awesome. So I know that we were talking about TT Summit, or you mentioned TT Summit. I know in June mean, that was kind of like one of my main reasons to end up going to TT Summit. I knew you were presenting, and I've known Rob King, from the Canadian Rock out in Newfoundland. He's said nothing but amazing things about you. So, I mean, I headed down and kind of experienced that Martin Rooney experience, the workout, the morning workout, and then the presentation was absolutely fantastic. And, but, so, I mean, you have that experience, that Martin Rooney experience, which you'll never forget. But then how do you end up, taking that online? Because, like you were saying, you and I were chatting before we got, turn the call on or turn the recording on, was you can't end up, you're presenting every weekend, so you're already doing like 52 weekends in a new place. Now, how can you take that energy and bring it online?
So here's how we did it, and that what, like we talked about, this was my big concern too. That right now, hey, I'm presenting around the world, but every day for the last 2 years, I've been getting emails of, hey, Martin, when are you going to come to my country? Or Martin, I can't make this event at this part of my country this weekend. Or when are you coming back? And what it pushed me enough when I received enough of those, because I've always learned that if you find a need, you have to fill that need. And with so much education going online, and now I've got nephews and nieces that are in college. They do all their courses online. They don't even they're not even ever a real class.
Yeah.
And so for the last year, I've been building the online course. And when I was building it, I wanted it to be in digestible modules. I wanted it to be 15 hours from a live event, which is what we shot, and broke it up into digestible modules where people could do it at a slower pace. What I also did is I do 4 live webinars, so almost webinars like what we're doing right now, but I do live webinars to answer all the people's questions that we have involved, and I keep the classes small so that I can interact with these people over the, say, 4 or 6 weeks that it takes them to get through the course. They also get online materials that we don't do at the live events so that they can even increase their studying even more. And I'll tell you what, the results and the responses, that was what I was most concerned with. That's what I was nervous about was, are they gonna leave saying the same things from a live event that they would from an online version? And you know what's funny? I got more responses from the online version about how powerful it was because they had the opportunity to see them again. So what happened was they could go back and they could watch some of their favorite pieces over and over and really digest it that second and third and fourth time, which I think is could be possibly even more valuable. Now, hey, I'm old school. I like to go see a rock concert and see my stars in person. But I'll tell you what, I still also like the CD too. And hey, I like a book. I like an old-fashioned book more than I like a Kindle. But you know what? Every airplane I'm on, everybody's got a Kindle but me.
Yeah.
And then, they're all, I'm the only one reading a book. So what I would say is I think this is a natural progression. But I'll say this too. We had 26 countries participate in the first beta. It was from countries I'll never go to. And now I'm in touch with people from Kuwait. I'm in touch with people from Croatia, Bulgaria, Australia, places that I haven't been that have now had this experience that if I didn't create the course, they never would. And so I couldn't be more happy with how it went. And I can guarantee that you're still going to get that experience as well.
Awesome. You'll have to make sure that you swing by Croatia. It's quite a beautiful country.
Hey, I want to go everywhere. The thing is, like I said, I just, what it is, I keep, I keep running out of time at the end before I've gone to all where, for instance, I'm leaving for Germany on Monday, and I come back home for 3 days. I leave for Dublin, Ireland, then I come back for a few days. I head back to Helsinki, Finland. So now I'm going on a whole European tour to close out the year. So I don't even have any more certification events in the United States for the rest of this year. In Atlanta this past weekend, there was Kansas City the weekend before that. Then we had California, we had New Jersey. I mean, if you saw how many places that we've been and what we've done, it's almost unbelievable. But like we had talked about, hey guys, I will never complain 1 second. Being in demand is the thing I always wanted, and now that it's here, I'm gonna give everything I got to make sure people get what they wanted right back.
Awesome. So, like, kind of a little bit of a sidetrack, but all this traveling, if you watch Martin on Facebook, you always have these crazy photos where you're like flying through the air. Now, that's definitely not a bobsledding kind of thing. Where did the flying Rooney move come from?
Yeah, they call it the Rooney flying punch, and what that is in MMA, there's something called this, a flying punch where you come up and then you just drill down with a punch. And hey, I trained MMA with the best guys in the world for years, and that was very athletic. You have to jump high in the air, and it's very surprising too if you can throw it the right way. And if you land it, I mean, you really score bonus points for just style. And how that started was when I did my second one's called Ultimate Warrior Workouts. We traveled to 10 different countries, some of the most exotic places. I trained Thai boxing in Thailand, Dutch kickboxing in Holland. We went to Brazil for jiu-jitsu. We went to England for boxing. I went to the University of Iowa for wrestling. Japan to train judo. It was amazing the places that we went. Russia. I went to Russia for sambo. And at each one of these places, I had photographers with me, and we would document some of the stuff we were doing. I just started taking this shot, and now someday I'm going to put together a reel of all these shots together, because I am trying to shoot that in front of just about every famous monument in the world, and I won't stop until I get it. And so you know what it is that becomes my little treat. I go. I'm usually teaching courses 10 hours a day, and then being with the people that attend the courses afterwards, and they're pretty demanding. And a lot of times I'll do them back to back and have other presentations lined up. But I always try to book the back end where I can really experience the culture and the people, and really see something from history too, where I don't want to just get through these events that I present. I want to get from them too, and that's the big part of living. So I try to use that as a lesson for everybody that, hey, everybody, everywhere you go, you got a phone on you. I mean, it can take pictures in a second of higher resolution than what we had 5 years ago with the best cameras. So if you're not capturing that and chronicling you, and so I use that as an example for everybody.
Awesome. So we kind of, at the start, we kind of talked about mistakes, and it was that, where people are kind of like driving people in the ground as opposed to training them properly, and then, trying to get those sedentary people moving and going. Now, before we kind of wrap up this interview, I want to give the trainers some, technical tips. So let's say you had a couple minutes to educate a bunch of trainers on exercise or training technique. What advice would you give them right now?
Well, and that's a great question. I mean, if I was working with young trainers, and I always am, the first part is that I would probably say, hey, before you even worry about the techniques or anything else, you got to still continue to, what I always give advice from our system is, if you can't do these things really well, if you can't get enough sleep, if you don't eat right, if you don't exercise, then you don't have any expertise worth someone paying. I always use that fitness and especially training for warriors. It's a challenge to the people out there that, hey, you have to do this stuff, because that's what they're coming and buying. So, what I always say is, hey, would you go to a brain surgeon that never does brain surgery? You probably, that wouldn't be the guy you pick. So the first thing is, work harder on yourself than you do on developing your workouts. And then once you've done that, now start developing those workouts. And advice that I would give, hey, number one, everybody, there should be a warm-up that takes place in your session. The warm-up should be not just an event that increases heart rate and core temperature, but it should be an event that motivates people and gets them to meditate on the things that they need to do in those hours that they're not with you. So you've seen it. When I do a 15-minute session or an hour session, there is always this element of motivation that gets people to think at the beginning and the end that really make a difference and really put on a show. Now, from there, what I would say, it's funny, I was just a number of my students, so I have a lot of people that are in training with me, and my goal is always to make them as knowledgeable as I am about training. That the ultimate goal is that they can go and train somewhere else and they don't need me anymore. And this week I was really talking about tempo, where what I've also noticed is no one paid attention to the tempo of either a lift or some kind of metabolic exercise. It's always just get it through it as fast as you can, just going quick. So for instance, bench press, we just be banging out. If it says 3 sets of 10, then they don't care how they do that 10. Where one thing that I would say that separates my training as well as, I pay attention to, every contraction and what's happening during that contraction. That you may only have somebody for 2 or 3 hours But man, within that hour, there's not much time spent contracting. That's the magic where your results really happen. And if you don't pay attention to that or get them to focus on that, you're probably not going to get as great a result. And if you don't get a great as result, then the people don't come back. And if the people don't come back, they don't bring other people with them. So, that might be some great tips there. Some big three might be, hey, number one, work harder on yourself. Get better. Make yourself better. That's what they're buying, your fitness and your expertise. So if you don't know how to help somebody get more sleep because you don't know how to get more sleep, you're not that valuable. Then number two, man, make that warm up a show of motivation and discipline because that's what they're craving. That's what they came to you for. And then, man, maybe number three is really pay attention to understand that there are no little things. It's like every rep, as I say in my system, every rep, every set, every piece of food you put in your mouth, every thought you have in your head, they count. And most of the time, people aren't paying attention to any of them. And in my system, those people, they're not just going to pay their dues and do hard work. They're going to pay attention. And when they do, it makes big differences in the training, it makes big differences in the results, and the connection that you make with that client, the engagement that then they're going to trust you further with the other things that you say to get them great results.
Awesome. I mean,
I even like that one. Sometimes, like see, how you talk about energy right there, guys. I'm in the zone. Everybody listen. I'm flowing right now. It's flowing at me. I would, I can't wait because when Rick writes this up, I'll get to read it. It's just coming out right now.
Awesome. Well, I mean, that's almost a great spot to end. I have no more questions. Do you have any last minute tips to leave? But what you said was awesome, so we can end here.
Yeah, well, hey, the tips, I guess, guys, if you like what you saw, remember, here would be another great tip, probably the great tip to end it with. You might be saying right now when you watch this, you might say, hey, man, but that's Martin Rooney. He's always on fire. That guy's trained the best of the best. That guy's been around the world. That can't be me. And you might say, I don't have the ability. Well, you know what I'm going to say? You're not lacking the ability. You know what you're doing? You're blocking it. So listen to that again. You're not lacking it. You're blocking it. You could be on fire. If I told you, hey, something bad's going to happen in the next 5 minutes, you get real on fire right now, man, you would be on fire. If I said, man, you got to go research and have some great stories for people and motivate them and fire them up, you could do it. If I said you got to get more sleep or you got to exercise and you really believed you had to, you could do it. So you're not lacking the ability of everything I talked about. You're blocking it. And what I would say is, hey, take down the block, take off the brake, and, man, move forward and do some of this stuff because that's the only way you're going to get good at it. I didn't get good at giving speeches by reading speeches. I get good at giving speeches by giving speeches. And, man, it's waiting for you out there. And I'll tell you this, if you don't do it, if you don't bring out that warrior inside of you to help other people, man, that'll be the biggest tragedy that happens from this interview. Because now that we've shown you what the truth is, now it's time for you to do something about it.
Awesome.
And that is a great way to end.
That's an awesome way to end. Well, where can people get more of the Martin Rooney experience?
Well, hey, anybody can check me out. Hey, I'm on Facebook, but my personal Facebook is full. They only let you have 5,000 people, so I have a Training for Warriors Facebook page. We have about 16,000 people there, and I put up content every day that'll motivate you and fire you up. Martin Rooney, and then the number 1 on Twitter. And hey, if anybody's interested in finding out more about the online certification events, we're only doing one more this year, and it's going to be in mid-September. And we're doing a free course, which Rick will be making available to you. We're going to have a free 3-part course where you can really get a taste of what it is and see what it's about to see if you want to get involved. But hey, I'm looking for people, great people that are motivated, that are fired up, that want to make a difference in people's lives, but re-engage themselves on why they got into fitness. And if you're that person and this speech resonated with you, then I would definitely say check out what I'm putting out there because I really think it's going to change your life.
Awesome. So thank you very much, Martin, for your time.
My pleasure.
And thank you very much, Exercises for Injuries listeners, readers, viewers. This is Rick Cassell with Martin Rooney. Now, make sure to swing by exercisesforinjuries.com. Enter in your injury or pain. There's a good chance that I have a video, article, or interview for you. Secondly, if you're watching this on YouTube, head up above, hit subscribe. What that'll do is you'll get a video from myself on injury and pain, or an interview like this, or a guest video from one of my friends in the health and fitness world. Now, lastly, make sure to head down below and leave a comment or question for myself or Martin, and we'll make sure that we answer it. Now, wrapping up, make sure to at least capture some of the Martin Rooney experience. It might be one of his books, which are excellent. If you can get to a presentation with Martin, you'll never be the same. And take a look at Training for Warriors. It's like no other certification that I've seen. So that's it. This is Rick Kaselj and Martin Rooney saying take care and bye-bye.